everyone, welcome to our 4th episode of Q&Egg. I'm here with Kyle and Steve, and we're going to answer some of the emails that have been coming in to qandegg@gmail.com. First up is from Philip. He asks, I was wondering what you guys think about the direction in which the future of PC is heading, especially in regards to gaming. Do you think AMD's approach to giving developers better software for them to use, or NVIDIA's approach of using hardware, such as G-Sync, with existing tech? Well, I believe a blend of both would be best. Which do you think is the step in the right direction? Thanks, guys.
I think they're both trying really hard to get hardware in your computer, actually. If you look at Steam's results from what people are currently using, you get an idea of what the general public is using, but I don't think that that's necessarily a trend. That's just where we are currently, right? Mm-hmm. I like the idea of going like a tree, just going in branches in every direction. I don't think there's necessarily one answer, because the more R&D they put into every avenue, they figure out, all right, this works, this doesn't work, or they develop some chip that can be used in something else to help you, maybe with your mobile gaming, or maybe with your PC gaming, or anything. So I like everywhere that they're going. I like everything that they're doing, software or hardware based. So
I would have to agree with that. I feel like trying to answer the question of software versus hardware is just as pointless as trying to argue AMD or NVIDIA, right? But in different ways, because your hardware is only going to be as good as the software that integrates with it, you know what I mean? And vice versa. You kind of need both of them. It's synergy. They both need to work together in order to actually make something that works well. So I can't really answer that one way or the other.
I think that probably, in my mind anyways, as a person coming from like the outside of gaming perspective and getting into it, is I think mobile, they're going to start making things more and more mobile, at least making mobile games more rich and accessible to other people, because I think we're at a point now where if you can carry it with you, you want to do that. You want to bring it with you wherever you're going, and people don't necessarily want their gaming experience to be tied to a desk at home. Mm-hmm. So I see a lot more of tablet type games, or like the Shield, I think, is a great direction, and definitely probably more portable type consoles like that, and we're seeing a few other developers coming up with that type of thing too. NVIDIA's
Kepler chip, that's gonna, or not Kepler chip, excuse me, the Denver chip, that's gonna be awesome. So yeah. Yeah,
and so I see AMD probably falling in line with that, but it'll be interesting for sure. We're kind of like on a cusp of a development change right now, and I feel like our viewers are definitely catching on to that, so that's cool.
Cool.
All right, our next question comes from Jonathan. Jonathan Fansett. He actually said that I could pronounce his last name. Oh, that's the other thing too. When you guys write in, tell me what you want me to say. Do you want me to use a username, or say your names, or not your last name? You know, it's up to you.
Jonathan
but just
the Amazing.
Please specify. Yeah, I'll call you whatever you want me to. Almost.
Almost. Yeah.
All right.
That at the end.
Hi. With the introduction of Retina 4K, like I'm thinking you mean like Apple Retina. Many say that we have peaked as far as resolution is concerned, as a greater resolution couldn't be registered with a human eye. I'm wondering what this means for the future of discrete graphics cards, as once a suitable frame rate has been achieved for these resolutions, the only refinement that can be made is the same technology in a smaller package. In your opinion, could this be why AMD have opted to focus on Kaveri and other APU research as opposed to CPU production? I don't think we can really speak to what AMD is doing or what our opinion of that is, but we can definitely talk about what resolution and frame rates and stuff mean. And Kyle, this is kind of, you know a lot about this stuff, so what do you think?
Yeah, well, I feel like this kind of reminds me of the whole topic of, can anyone perceive, 60 hertz more than, or 120 hertz? Mm-hmm. Can the human eye actually perceive more than that? And some people swear by it, and they say that it makes all the difference in the world to go from 144 or from 120 to 144 hertz, for example, or even past that. Mm-hmm. I feel like it's almost a biological question, right? Like, everybody's eyes are different. Everybody perceives things differently. My mom can't tell the difference between 480 and 720 or 720 and 1080, right? And for us, it's like night and day. So I think until we actually push the limits, I mean, regardless of whether the human eye can see past 4K or not, it's going to happen because it's just another selling point, right? For manufacturers to say, look what we did it better. Whether or not it's actually a real world specification that you can see for yourself, can sometimes be irrelevant in the world of marketing. So it's one of those things.
I think to add to what you're saying, Kyle, I agree with what you're saying in terms of movies, because I don't know if I could really tell the difference, but in terms of gaming, if I spin in an FPS game from left to right at like 90-degree fan, I'm going to notice with tearing. That's where you're going to really see it. So, and if you're talking 4K, you're already limited right now. I think it's 24, maybe 30 hertz. So if they can kick the monitors up, that's where they're going to need to be. And Paul actually just enlightened us. He said that there's an 8K spec that's just been written. So look forward to even greater resolutions, which I'm not really sure what I would do with that right now.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, when you're talking about film, what makes a difference is not necessarily, well, it's definitely frame rates, but it's also, I mean, the size of the sensor that captures that image. So there's a lot more when you think about film. If it's not a CG film like Shrek or a Pixar film or something like that, you still have that whole like what is capturing the image, and then how is that data being transferred to the audience, and what gets lost in that transition in terms of frame rate and stuff like that.
Resolution or anything.
So
right?
I think that if you look at it from that perspective, there's actually quite a lot of development that can go on, but I've seen, and you've seen really high refresh rate TVs, and you feel like you could just dip your finger right into them. They're amazing. But also, you have to look at like, what is the quality of the image that is being displayed on that, because if what's being displayed on it wasn't captured at, with using a large sensor camera or at a high frame rate or, whatever, it's still not going to look that great. And that's the same as with game developers. When game developers are working on stuff, what they put into creating that environment and that world is also a huge factor in what you see on the screen. It's not just the hardware, it's also what goes into that development. If they don't create a detailed image, it doesn't matter all the refresh rate in the world, you're not going to see a detailed image.
Right. Only as good as the source, right?
Exactly. All right, so our fun question for the week.
Fun stuff.
Yay, fun questions. All of them are fun questions. We like answering the technical stuff too. And Alexander Sorensen asks, hi, why are you guys so geeky nerdy? Explain personally.
You go first.
I was an only child. Actually, I still am an only child, but I used to be one too.
Oh my God, your mother, she didn't tell your father.
Right. But growing up as a kid, like I talk to my friends about their childhoods, and they all have siblings. Most people do. And they're like, yeah, it'd just be like me and my friends, or me and my siblings playing hide and go seek and whatnot. And I was like, wow, it's like so social. Like I was like in a room with my Legos or with a mirror, and I'd make faces in front of the mirror for like hours on end. I mean, I probably heard, if you make that face, it's gonna stay that way, like 1,000 times from my mom.
And so it helped you tremendously with drama and acting.
I think it did. I think it really did. It helped me be okay looking so ugly all the time, like making distorted faces to the camera or on stage. And I think it really helped with my creativity a lot too, because I didn't really have anyone to feed ideas off of, so I kind of just had to create things myself. I would open the box of Legos and I would just toss the manual and just make my own contraption or whatever, and I loved it way more than following the boring instructions it came with. Nice. And video games, obviously. I mean, I got really into video games when I was like 6 or 7. My dad bought me an NES, nice. First generation, and it was all uphill from there, and downhill. It's good times.
Cool.
Depends on your perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why am I geeky? I don't know. I think I just really wasn't very cool in junior high, and I started finding ways to fit in, and one of those ways were playing games, video games specifically, and NES, of course, playing when I was much younger, but still dabbling in computers and everything else. And I just found that I really liked that environment. I liked building something with my own hands and then playing something competitively and finding a way to tune it and make it better, make it faster, and just show it off to people. So I guess that's where my geekiness comes from.
I think mine comes from, I wasn't an only child, but I had a sibling that really didn't hang out with me much.
We don't speak of him. No, he's cool.
But I was a sick kid. I was sick all the time, and
like
so
in a ball?
Yeah, like I needed to be in a bubble. But Because of that, I watched a lot of sci-fi. I watched a lot of old sci-fi, and I kind of retreated into those worlds, and definitely, like, that's where my imagination flourished, was watching things like Star Wars and Terminator. And
I could see that. Yeah.
And that's, you know, those were the toys I played with, and that was everything. So I think that that's where my geeky nerdiness comes from.
No wonder every time you leave the office at the end of the day, you're like, I'll be back. I was wondering where that came from. It's so bizarre.
Yes, you will, tomorrow morning.
So really, all of these things, what we're saying to you is that if you're still like in junior high or high school, or, you know, don't be afraid of that kind of stuff, the geeky, nerdy stuff, because you too can be a successful person someday.
Embrace the geekiness.
Just go with it. Makes you happy. As long as you're not hurting other people, who cares?
This is true.
Also, we are not going to have a question of the week this week.
Oh.
All your questions sucked.
No, all the questions are great. It's because we didn't really take into account that so many of our viewers are international, and our last question of the week came from an international viewer that we can't ship anything to, so we're kind of trying to come up with a creative solution for that. And until we have a creative solution that embraces our entire audience consistently, we're not going to be able to award a prize for question of the week. So don't worry, we'll hammer out those details and it'll be back.
Yeah, what would you guys say about maybe like a Steam giveaway or something like that? Would there be enough viewers out there that are gamers that would enjoy something like that? I mean, Steam also has software, but it's a very, very small fraction of what they actually sell.
Free video games, I don't know, man.
Yeah.
I don't know if our audience is all about that.
I don't think they're into it.
Probably not.
You guys don't like that stuff.
Yeah. All right, well, thank you for joining in. Again, if you would please send your questions to qandegg@gmail.com. I certainly would appreciate it. And thank you from me and Kyle and Steve for joining us this week. Yeah, he's Kyle.
I'm Kyle.
Anyway, if you liked this video or found it helpful, please like it and subscribe to our various YouTube channels. Until next time, I'm Jennifer, and thank you for watching Newegg TV.